Whoa! Grace video in this hour? Wow, that's kind of crazy. I took a break for quite a bit because I just wanted to regather my thoughts and have a general view of what I wanted to actually make content on, because most of the games nowadays on Roblox are just kind of dry or repetitive. So let's get back into the Grace content. I'm probably only gonna do like 2 more videos after this one, and then yeah, that's gonna be it for Grace until further updates come. So let's get into the entities that were added in the Spread the Love update. Irie, how do you say that name? I'm just gonna call it Irie. Irie is a smiley face. You know, he looks kind of happy, kind of jolly, right? He usually doesn't pose that much of a threat because he's just a guy. But essentially, when he pops up on the screen, you won't see his face. First, you'll see this little black hole that's starting to open up, and once it opens fully, then you'll see a smiley face, which is good old Irie. So once you see that face, you have to jump and make sure you're not touching the floor. Just make sure you're not touching the floor. You don't really have to jump. You can just be on the wall or something like that, as long as you're not on the floor. Otherwise, you will die. This can be quite annoying when posed with Dozer and Litany, obviously, when combined with the two, because you have to be off the ground, otherwise you're gonna die. And considering that you have to slide for Litany, crouch for Dozer, it's gonna be quite annoying if you combine those 2 elements. Drain is probably one of the scariest out of them all, if I'm being honest. I think he's my favorite entity out of the whole update in general, because he's pretty freaking cool. He doesn't have a head. Look at the guy. He's headless. That's pretty creepy. But essentially, he poses not that much of a threat. You just gotta have your lantern out or your flashlight out most of the time, because you have to flash him when you get too close. He'll spawn at one of the doors, usually in front of you, far in front of you, and once you run towards the other room he's in. Sometimes he triggers if you're in a far room, sometimes he triggers when you're in a room that's close by. It's kind of weird sometimes, but once you get close enough to him, he will trigger and then immediately start charging at you from the door that he was sitting at. Yes, he's sitting down with his big fucking hands. Look at his hands! Why are they so big? Jeez. But yeah, essentially, you get too close, he charges at you. And once he does, you gotta flash him. That's pretty much all you gotta do. It's pretty easy, not too hard, very easy to deal with. Can be scary when you have to deal with somebody like Cuckoo as well, because you have to put your item away, which means if you get too close to Drain when Cuckoo's about to strike the number, then, how are you gonna flash Drain? That's pretty much like the only time he's ever really scary. Not to mention he also has a modifier that makes it so that way the second he spawns in is when he triggers, which means you don't have to get close to him in order for him to start charging at you. It's pretty scary sometimes, but overall, he's not really that bad. I honestly think he's easier to deal with than Irie. Mime! Not really that much of a threat. If anything, Mime is like the easiest entity to deal with. Honestly, easier to deal with than someone like Slugfish. Honestly, he's easier to deal with Slugfish, mostly because he acts as a way to prevent you from going too fast. That's pretty much what Mime is in a general summary. Essentially, he'll spawn behind you at all times throughout the whole run. You can't get rid of him, you can only push him back with your flashlight or your lantern. By flashing him, it'll push him back, right? Now the idea is that the white stuff, the little white X in front of you when you're running forward, shows how close Mime is to you. The closer it is, the further that X will push back. It's not that hard to understand. No, the closer that X will get. My apologies. But essentially, just don't run into him. It's not that hard. He basically tracks your body, so as you're moving around, that's how he'll move. So just don't run into him. This is basically just to prevent you from going too fast in breaker rooms, because sometimes you'll be going too fast trying to hit all the levers, and you'll accidentally run into him and die. So yeah, just don't be too fast. Pretty much all you gotta do. Now, I think all these entities are really cool. I think most of them are... I think all these entities are pretty cool. I think they all are a bit underwhelming, though, if I am being honest. I don't think that was the major highlight of the update. They were just a couple of additions. But I guess the developers are starting to run out of ideas for entity concepts, because, what can you really add to this that won't make it super overcomplicated, I think one of the perfect added entities was Cuckoo, and I'll still stand by that. He's a very perfectly designed enemy, because not only do you have to deal with entities that require you to flash them, or you have to take out a lever to put in inputs, right? Stuff like that, right? The plug to put into the door socket. But you also have to make sure that you don't do it too fast, because then Cuckoo will punish you for it. That's why I think Cuckoo is such a well-designed entity. At least, just from my general perspective. I think... But yeah, that's all the entities, and I'll probably talk about the game modes that were added in Spread the Love update in the next video, because I don't really want to combine all that into one video. I feel like it's going to be a little too dragging, and also just because I want to capitalize on views. I gotta get back in the swing of things, obviously. Yep. Bye-bye.